A loved one who passed away is not standing in the room, not whispering through the air, and not breaking the laws of the universe, yet their love, their memories, their unspoken prayers, and the lessons they planted inside your heart have formed a voice within your soul that now rises with urgency, and this inner voice feels like a warning because it carries the weight of time, of things left undone, of words never spoken, of courage that was postponed. And in this moment the symbolic presence of Archangel Michael represents divine clarity and protection, the sword of truth cutting through illusion, saying, "Open now, awaken now, choose now," before fear, distraction, and delay erase the softness of your heart and the sharpness of your awareness. And the phrase, "before it is erased forever," does not mean your destiny disappears. It means the ease, the grace, and the gentle path can fade when lessons are ignored too long. Because life will still teach, but later it teaches through pressure instead of whispers, through storms instead of signs, and the voice that feels like it is calling your name from the other side is actually your higher self, shaped by love that never truly dies, reminding you that time is sacred, that tomorrow is not guaranteed in its comfort, and that purpose waits but does not beg. And this is why the message feels urgent, not to scare you, but to shake you out of sleep. Because many souls are not lost, they are simply numb, moving through days without listening, surviving without truly living, and forgetting the promises they once made to themselves when pain taught them what really matters. And Archangel Michael's energy symbolizes the strength to stand in truth, to face your own reflection without excuses, and to choose growth even when comfort invites you to remain small. And the warning is not about death, it is about life, about how easily days turn into years, and years turn into regret, when courage is delayed and love is left unexpressed. And the soul that feels this message is often one that has already been prepared by loss, by hardship, by silence, by nights of questioning, and by moments when the world felt heavy and the heart felt alone. And in those moments something inside you learned, even if you did not realize it, that life is fragile, that time is precious, and that meaning is not found in waiting but in choosing. And this is why the call feels personal, as if your name is being spoken, because it is your own conscience, your own wisdom, your own deeper awareness saying, "Do not sleep through your life, do not postpone your healing, do not delay your forgiveness, do not silence your truth, and do not ignore your calling." And Michael's symbolic voice says, "Open immediately," meaning open your awareness, open your discipline, open your courage, open your heart to the work you know you must do. Because awareness once closed for too long becomes dull, and a dull soul starts to accept things it was meant to change, starts to tolerate what it was meant to transform, and starts to settle where it was meant to rise. And the greatest erasure is not of destiny but of sensitivity, the ability to feel deeply, to care strongly, and to respond quickly to inner guidance. And when this sensitivity fades, people still live, but they no longer truly listen, and the message reminds you that you are still listening, that you are still capable of hearing the subtle call of purpose, and that you still have the chance to act before habits harden into chains and fear hardens into identity, and the loved one you think of becomes a symbol of memories. Power, teaching you that nothing is permanent in form, but everything is permanent in influence, and what they could not finish, what they wished for you, what they prayed for you, now lives as a responsibility in your own life, not as a burden, but as a sacred trust. and this is why the message feels heavy and holy at the same time, because it is not about ghosts, it is about legacy, about what you will do with the time you still have, about whether you will honor love by living bravely or waste it by living in fear. And Archangel Michael's symbolic sword stands not to threaten you, but to protect your clarity, cutting through the noise of comparison, distraction, and self-doubt, reminding you that you were not created to live on autopilot, that you were not formed to simply pass time, and that you were not meant to shrink your soul to fit into comfort. And the warning is gentle but firm. If you keep ignoring your inner truth, life will grow louder, and if you keep postponing your growth, circumstances will become stricter, not as punishment, but as training, because the universe, like a wise teacher, increases the lesson when the student refuses to learn, and the voice from the other side is therefore the voice of wisdom that transcends fear of death and focuses on the urgency of life, saying that what matters is not how long you live, but how awake you live, not how safe you remain, but how true you become, not how much you delay, but how deeply you commit. And this commitment begins in small choices, in daily discipline, in honest self-reflection, in forgiving what still hurts, in letting go of what no longer serves your growth, and in stepping toward what your heart already knows is right, even when your mind is afraid. And this is the true opening that Michael calls for, the opening of your will to align with your higher path, the opening of your focus to leave distractions behind, and the opening of your courage to act while you still can, because nothing is truly erased when you walk in truth, but much is lost when you remain asleep, and the message ends not in fear but in power, not in threat but in invitation, telling you that you are still here, still breathing, still capable, still guided, and still able to choose a life of meaning, depth, and integrity, and that the greatest honor you can give to love, to memory, and to your own soul is to live fully, consciously, and bravely, starting now, while the call is still clear and your heart is still able to hear it. And as this inner call continues to echo within you, you begin to realize that the warning is not meant to create fear but to awaken responsibility, because every soul that senses urgency is being invited to rise beyond routine, beyond excuses, beyond the small stories it tells itself about why it cannot change, why it cannot forgive, why it cannot become what it once dreamed of becoming. And this is where the presence of Archangel Michael, as a symbol of divine strength and protection, stands beside your will, reminding you that courage is not the absence of fear but the decision to move forward despite it, and the phrase, "open immediately," now reveals a deeper meaning, for it is not a door in the physical world that must be opened, but the door of awareness, the door of discipline, the door of honesty with yourself, because many people live with closed inner doors, blocking their own light, silencing their own intuition, and postponing their own growth, and over time this postponement hardens into a way of life, where comfort becomes more important than truth and familiarity becomes more important than purpose, and this is what is meant by something being erased, not that destiny disappears, but that sensitivity fades, passion weakens, and the fire that once pushed you to become more slowly turns into quiet acceptance of less. And the symbolic voice calling your name is therefore the part of you that still remembers who you were before the world taught you to doubt yourself, before fear taught you to play safe, before disappointment taught you to lower your expectations, and before loss taught you to close your heart. And this voice does not accuse you, it invites you, saying that it is not too late to return to your deeper self, to your original courage, to your original vision, and to the integrity that once guided your choices. There comes a moment in every human life when the noise of the outer world begins to fade and a deeper voice starts to rise from within, a voice that does not scream but calls, that does not rush but invites, that does not force but reminds you of who you truly are beyond fear, beyond doubt, beyond the small identity you may have learned to accept, and this moment is not chosen by chance. It arrives when the soul is ready to awaken, when the spirit can no longer remain asleep inside routine, limitation, and silent surrender, and in that moment you begin to feel that you were not created merely to survive, to repeat days, to carry responsibilities, and to disappear quietly, but that you were sent into this world with a mission, a destiny, and a divine strength placed inside you by the Creator, a strength that waits patiently, like a sleeping warrior, for the day you decide to rise, to stand, and to walk with purpose. And this awakening is the birth of the first great power, the power of vision, because vision is not only the ability to see a future, it is the courage to believe that your life has meaning beyond your present condition, and when vision opens, you stop asking why life is hard and start asking what life is preparing you for. You stop seeing obstacles as walls and start seeing them as training grounds. And you stop looking at your past as a burden and begin to understand it as the soil from which your strength is growing, and in this shift of perception, something sacred happens, because your mind aligns with a higher order, your heart aligns with a deeper trust, and your spirit aligns with the guidance that has always been around you, the guidance that in spiritual language is symbolized by Archangel Michael, the energy of protection, courage, truth, and divine justice, reminding you that you are not walking alone, that even when you feel isolated, unseen, or misunderstood, there is a higher presence surrounding you, strengthening you, guarding your path, and whispering to your soul that you are capable of more than you imagine. And as you begin to feel this presence, your inner world starts to change, because fear loses some of its grip, doubt becomes quieter, and a calm determination begins to take its place. And this determination is not aggressive, it is steady, not loud, but unbreakable, and it is born from the realization that your life is not random. Your struggles are not meaningless, and your efforts are not wasted, and with this realization your vision grows clearer, you begin to see a future that is not defined by your limitations but by your potential, not by your past failures but by your future growth, and this vision gives birth to responsibility, because once you know that you carry something valuable inside you, you can no longer live carelessly, you begin to feel the weight of your own potential, and this weight is not a burden, it is a calling, a silent call to rise above comfort, above excuses, above the temptation to remain small, and in answering this call, you step into the path of discipline, the second of the 5 powers, because divine vision demands human effort, spiritual purpose requires physical commitment, and inner calling must be matched with outer action, and discipline is the bridge between what you are now and what you are meant to become. It is the daily choice to act in alignment with your higher self even when emotions are low, even when the world is distracting, and even when no one is watching, and every time you choose discipline, you strengthen your self-respect, and self-respect is the foundation of confidence, and confidence is the foundation of courage, and courage is the foundation of transformation. And through this chain your inner warrior awakens, the part of you that does not run from difficulty but faces it, that does not collapse under pressure but stands. And as this inner call continues to echo within you, you begin to realize that the warning is not meant to create fear but to awaken responsibility, because every soul that senses urgency is being invited to rise beyond routine, beyond excuses, beyond the small stories it tells itself about why it cannot change, why it cannot forgive, why it cannot become what it once dreamed of becoming. And this is where the presence of Archangel Michael, as a symbol of divine strength and protection, stands beside your will, reminding you that courage is not the absence of fear but the decision to move forward despite it, and the phrase, "open immediately," now reveals a deeper meaning, for it is not a door in the physical world that must be opened, but the door of awareness, the door of discipline, the door of honesty with yourself, because many people live with closed inner doors, blocking their own light, silencing their own intuition, and postponing their own growth, and over time this postponement hardens into a way of life, where comfort becomes more important than truth and familiarity becomes more important than purpose, and this is what is meant by something being erased, not that destiny disappears, but that sensitivity fades, passion weakens, and the fire that once pushed you to become more slowly turns into quiet acceptance of less. And the symbolic voice calling your name is therefore the part of you that still remembers who you were before the world taught you to doubt yourself, before fear taught you to play safe, before disappointment taught you to lower your expectations, and before loss taught you to close your heart. And this voice does not accuse you, it invites you, saying that it is not too late to return to your deeper self, to your original courage, to your original vision, and to the integrity that once guided your choices. Firm, and that does not abandon the path when it becomes uncomfortable, and in this standing, belief begins to grow, the third of the 5 powers, belief not as blind hope but as deep trust in the process, in your growth, and in the divine timing that governs your life, and this belief is strengthened every time you survive a challenge, every time you learn from a mistake, and every time you continue despite uncertainty. And as belief grows, fear slowly loses its authority, because fear feeds on the unknown. But belief is rooted in trust, and trust brings peace, not the peace of comfort, but the peace of stability, the calm certainty that no matter what comes, you are being prepared, guided, and strengthened, and in this peace your persistence is born, the 4th power, the ability to continue when the journey is long, when results are slow, and when recognition is absent. And persistence is the mark of the spiritually mature soul, because it understands that divine plans unfold in time, that growth is gradual, and that what is built with patience is built to last, and as you persist, your faith deepens, the 5th power, faith not only in God, not only in the universe, but in yourself as an instrument of that higher will. Faith that you are capable of learning, adapting, and becoming, faith that your effort is seen even when it is not praised, and faith that your life is unfolding exactly as it should, even when you cannot yet understand how, and this faith brings a quiet confidence, a grounded strength, and an unshakable calm, and with this calm you begin to move differently, speak differently, and think differently, because you are no longer driven by panic or comparison, but guided by purpose and trust, and this guidance is the true protection of Archangel Michael energy, not as fantasy, but as the symbolic force of courage, truth, and spiritual alignment, reminding you to stand in your integrity, to walk in your truth, and to face your life with honor. And as you do, your identity slowly transforms, from one who reacts to one who leads, from one who and Michael's energy reminds you that protection is not only about shielding you from harm, it is also about protecting your purpose from being wasted, your time from being consumed by distraction, and your potential from being buried under habit. And when you listen to this message, you are not being told that something supernatural is about to vanish, but that life itself is asking you to take it seriously, to honor it with attention, with effort, and with conscious choice, because every day you wake up, you are given a silent question: will you live on autopilot, or will you live with intention? Will you repeat the past, or will you create the future? Will you stay in fear, or will you step into growth? And these choices, though small in appearance, shape the direction of your entire journey. And the warning is simply this: do not allow time to pass without presence, do not allow pain to pass without learning, and do not allow love to pass without expression, because unexpressed love becomes regret, unlearned lessons become repeated cycles, and unclaimed potential becomes silent sorrow, and the memory of those who have left this world often awakens this understanding, not because they are speaking from beyond, but because their absence teaches the value of presence, their silence teaches the power of words, and their departure teaches the urgency of living. And in this realization you begin to see that the true message is not about the past, but about the present moment, about what you will do now with the awareness you have, with the time you still hold, and with the strength that is still available to you, and Archangel. And as this awakening settles into your consciousness, you begin to understand that vision alone is not enough, that feeling inspired is not the same as being transformed, and that true change requires the courage to enter the inner battlefield where old habits, fears, and doubts still live, because every soul that is called to rise must first face the parts of itself that were formed in weakness, in survival, and in unconscious patterns. And this is where the power of discipline becomes sacred. Because discipline is not punishment, it is devotion, devotion to your higher self, to your calling, and to the divine plan that is unfolding through your effort. And when you begin to practice discipline, you are not merely controlling your actions, you are training your spirit to lead your body, your emotions, and your thoughts, and this leadership is the mark of a mature soul, because a soul that cannot lead itself will always be led by circumstances, by impulses, and by fear, but a soul that has learned discipline walks with authority, not the authority of dominance over others, but the authority of mastery over itself, and this mastery is what creates inner peace, because conflict is born when desire and direction are not aligned, but peace is born when your daily actions reflect your deeper values, and in this alignment you begin to feel the protective strength of divine order, the symbolic shield of Archangel Michael, reminding you to stand in truth, to cut through illusion, and to remain faithful to your path even when temptation invites you to return to comfort, and comfort is often the greatest enemy of destiny, because comfort asks you to remain where you are, while destiny calls you to become more, and to answer this call you must be willing to endure discomfort, to face uncertainty, and to walk forward without guarantees, trusting that every step taken in integrity is guided, supported, and recorded in the unseen, and as you continue to walk, belief deepens, not as excitement, but as quiet certainty, the certainty that your effort has meaning even when results are delayed, and this belief strengthens your heart, allowing you to remain steady when others lose hope, to remain calm when others panic, and to remain committed when others quit, and in this steadiness your persistence is refined, because persistence is not stubbornness, it is faith in motion, the decision to continue aligning with your purpose even when progress feels invisible, and this invisible progress is often the most important. Because while the outer world may not yet reflect your growth, your inner world is being reshaped, your patience is being strengthened, your emotional control is being refined, and your trust in divine timing is being deepened, and this trust removes desperation, because desperation is born from fear of lack, but faith is born from the knowing that what is meant for you will reach you at the right time, and that your responsibility is not to force outcomes but to remain aligned with effort, integrity, and perseverance. And as you remain aligned, your intuition becomes clearer, your decisions become wiser, and your path becomes more defined, and you start to recognize signs, not as superstition, but as moments of clarity, moments when your inner and outer worlds align, confirming that you are moving in the right direction, and this confirmation strengthens your resolve, because you realize that you are being. Michael's symbolic sword stands for discernment, for the ability to cut away what weakens you, what distracts you, and what keeps you from walking your path with clarity, and this cutting is not violent, it is intentional. It is the discipline to say no to what drains you and yes to what builds you, the courage to release what no longer serves your growth and to commit to what aligns with your higher values. And in this process you begin to understand that awakening is not a single moment of emotion, but a continuous practice of choosing awareness over avoidance, truth over comfort, and purpose over procrastination. And the voice that feels as if it is calling your name is the call of responsibility, the call of maturity, and the call of alignment, asking you to live in such a way that your actions honor your inner knowing, your time honors your potential, and your life honors the deeper meaning you sense within it. And when you respond to this call, not with fear but with commitment, not with superstition but with self-honesty, you step into a state of inner protection, where your mind becomes clearer, your heart becomes steadier, and your direction becomes stronger, and this is the true gift of the message, not anxiety about what might be lost, but motivation to fully claim what can still be built, to live with intention, to love with presence, and to walk your path with the quiet confidence of someone who knows that they are guided, supported, and capable of growth. And in this knowing, the warning transforms into wisdom, the urgency transforms into focus, and the call transforms into a steady inner light that continues to guide you forward, reminding you, again and again, that life is not meant to be slept through, but consciously lived. Guided, protected, and prepared, and preparation often looks like delay, training often looks like difficulty, and growth often looks like struggle, but when seen through the lens of faith, each of these becomes a gift, shaping you into a vessel capable of carrying greater responsibility, greater influence, and greater purpose, and in this shaping, your identity continues to transform. From one who seeks safety to one who seeks truth, from one who avoids pain to one who learns from it, and from one who waits for rescue to one who becomes strong enough to stand on their own, supported by divine guidance and inner discipline, and as this strength settles into your being, you no longer need constant reassurance, because your peace comes from alignment, your confidence comes from consistency, and your hope comes from trust, and with this trust you walk forward, not with arrogance, but with humility, knowing that every step is both a test and a blessing, and that through each test your Character is refined, and through each blessing your gratitude deepens.